In this video, we're going to talk about organizing your paper using a reverse outline. Now, this is after you finished your first draft at least, and you're trying to figure out either if it makes sense or not, or whether you need to actually do more work for it. So what is a reverse outline? A reverse outline is a tool to help you develop the logic and organization for your writing. So it can be used to identify problems with your argument, with how you're communicating, where you need to add more information, and where you need to cut out more information. Okay, so organization and logic is one of the most important parts of writing, probably second to having something to say, having a point or a thesis. Spelling and punctuation and formatting, those come significantly after your logic and organization. Without that, you can have a perfectly grammatical paper that's formatted perfectly, but that says nothing, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever, and that pretty much ends up being pointless. All right, so how do I make a reverse outline? So first off, if you don't have a clean draft, you might want to clean it up so it's actually readable. Now don't go crazy about it where you have to get everything perfect, but just enough that you have enough to read and it makes sense to you that you can sort of figure out. So clean up your spelling if it's horribly misspelled. A lot of times when I have my students do focus free writes, they just go without any rules, and it can be a little bit puzzling when they're looking at it again. So clean that up to make it make sense. Clean up punctuation and make sentences if there aren't any. A lot of times, again, with a focus free write, you end up with just one giant paragraph for your 5-page paper. So clean up and make sentences. Break the writing into paragraphs, what you think are paragraphs. All right, as we use the reverse outline, we may discover that some paragraphs need to be merged, other paragraphs need to be broken up because they're too long, because they have like too many tags or whatnot. Okay, so once you've done that, then we get to the business of writing the reverse outline. First, number your paragraphs, every single one. All right, have that number, and you're going to keep that number as you're editing. Okay, so hashtag each paragraph. So each paragraph has a topic, or topics, make sure you hashtag it. If you discover that that paragraph maybe has like a lot of tags to it, a lot of like top keywords, then that may be something that you notice later on that you might need to break up, or maybe it belongs, it's not something that you need to separate. But you make that decision because you've identified it. Summarize paragraphs in short sentences. Now, if you discover that you can't summarize it in a short sentence or a phrase, it may be that that paragraph is too long. And you may need to break it off into its sub-tags or sub-subjects or keyword based off the keywords. List in order on a separate piece of paper, preferably, the hashtags and summaries. So I would write the summaries and then hashtags next to it. That gives you a bird's eye view of what you need to do, of what your essay is literally about right now. It's not a wish list, it's what it is, a snapshot. With that, then you can make decisions about how you can improve your paper. All right. So then, how do I use my reverse outline? Well, you can use it to improve your paper's logic. That's the main purpose. So, group similar hashtags that you've done together, and that creates like a section. Okay, move the groups together on a separate sheet of paper or right next to it, so that those groups of paragraphs make more sense together. Okay. Similar tags become sections in your paper, so you may end up like having groups of paragraphs, and those are like how your paper flows. And you can decide on which group comes first or second in order for your paper to make more sense. And it's easier to do if you just have on one sheet of paper, or it's just right there in front of you without having to scroll through a bunch of things or have like 10 different sheets. List the new order of groups. List the new order of groups into a new outline. So then once you have that, then that's going to be like create a new outline with that order. Your tags that you've put in become the section. So if you're dealing with a particularly long paper, then you're going to have little breaks in the writing for your reader, and you need to have little signals to let them know, hey, these paragraphs are going to be about this topic. All right, this hashtag or this keyword. So then your tags become your section headings, and you can just type that in there on top of the groups, so we know what's going on. There's nothing in an essay that should be unpredictable. Everything should be predictable and logical. All right. Lastly, restructure your essay using your new outline. Okay, so you want to keep the original numbering of the paragraph so you know which paragraphs to move around in what order. So at this point, we're going to talk about how to use my reverse outline. The second part. So you can find places that you can add more information. So look at your group tags or hashtags to see areas that you're weak in. All right, ask questions about the shorter sections. Are there more specific areas about that tag that you need to talk about? Make a list and then go find more info. Okay, does that tag have other tags connected to? Are there subtags? Are there other topics you haven't mentioned? Make a list of those, find more info for that. So do more work on the tags you found that you need more. And if you're doing research, look up more sources on the database that can help you with those areas. Or you may need to actually, depending on what you're doing for your research, let's say if you're doing case studies, you may need to do another one. All right, or if you're doing, let's say you're doing some sort of survey, you may need to do some more. For literature sources, if you're doing like that kind of research or that kind of writing, you may need to have more passages for that specific tag to do close reading on, so you have more material to write with. It's easier then now to find out where you need to improve rather than just to sit there and look at it and go, oh, my essay's too short. Now you know specifically where you need to add to make it stronger, and that allows you to make a more surgical kind of attack on your writing. And that's pretty much it.